Wind under his belt, but it is an uphill climb. He needs to win this best of 3 and another to be crowned the champion. Polt needs only to win this one at hand. Can he do it?
I think he can, Sean. I think he's playing some fantastic StarCraft, and anyone who qualifies from the Korean qualifier is a favorite. Either way, we are ready and loaded into game number 2 on Overgrowth. In the left bottom side of the map, the blue Terran. Fulham vs Storm, Polt.
And spawning in the top right, he said it would be easy. Game 1, though, was a struggle. But who cares what happened in between? A win is a win. Can he do it again? I am trapped.
It must feel so nice, though, to win a game 1 like that in a grand final where you know you made a couple of unforced errors in the opening stages of the game, but you still end up winning it. I definitely think this is going to give Trap a lot of confidence, and if he had any nerves, well, then he probably lost them by now, and he can play up to his true potential. However, we've seen Polt play some really sick PvTs as well, especially on Overgrowth. This seems to be a map that suits Polt pretty well.
Yeah, and Polt, I really think, has been looking for any opportunity for Trap to be very exposed. You have 2 Nexuses that are exposed on Frost, the main and the natural, and then when you take the 3rd, the main is actually just tucked away and no longer a target. Not the case here on Overgrowth. Once you get bases 2 and 3, all 3 of them are possible targets. So whereas we were talking about 2 different places that Protoss had to be on Frost, this is more like 3 places that Protoss has to be. And I'd still love to see a pair of Colossus chilling in each mineral.
Yeah, but even in the earlier stage in that game, Trap did the exact same thing as well. It was really cool. He was out on the map with an army, and this was the moment where Polt had a few units a little too far forward. And I was like, that looked like a pretty scary army, but this can't be everything, right? And then you look at the natural, and he left 4 Stalkers behind with Blink and a Colossus, so the Colossus to deal the damage, and the 4 Stalkers to snipe the medevac. So Trap is definitely aware that he's playing against Polt, and I must say I'm loving the SimCity over here on Overgrowth. Of course, one of the most popular maps with the Reaper fast expand. Well, it's going to be tricky for Polt to see a whole lot, because once he goes in, he can't really go out.
Yeah, I mean, just creating those 2 walls, no way to get in there with the Reaper without dedicating the Reaper's remaining life to getting deep into the main base. Great scout timing by Polt, getting in there just to see, are you researching Warp Gate? Is there Mothership Core coming? No, that's probably an expansion. Let me just double check. Aha, I found it. We normally see Protosses doing the very, very slow play like on Frost, the 2-base double forge, but this is a map where we've seen triple Nexus, mass gateway. Which style do you prefer?
I'm very intrigued. I like a lot Mass Gateway style. I think it's always very exciting to watch. Double Forge is definitely solid if you're behind, because then you can stay on 2 bases. But if you don't have to be on 2 bases, I like to see some different stuff. I'm curious about this probe, unless he was just like taking a huge detour to avoid the Reaper, and that seems to be the case. So great scout here by Trap. What's also fun as well that you see he switches things up immediately. This game he fired up the Zealot, but as soon as he realized I'm not being engineering blade blocked in my natural, he cancels the Zealot. So it's already a very different opening than in game number 1, and he is dropping the Twilight Council in his natural.
We don't see this that much. Most of the time we see players try to get out a Robo, try to play defensively. Twilight Council used to be the normative opening in this matchup. Blinking into the main, blinking back out. You'd have games end early all the time, but in this case, I'm not so sure how much I like this fast Twilight Council. Give me your read on this.
I'm actually not sure yet. Now we see Blink being fired up. I wasn't 100% sure. I think that Trap is just kind of metagaming Polt now. Polt is pretty well known for moving out with small hit squads in a very unusual phase in the game, trying to trigger a photon overcharge so it's easier for him in a later stage to snipe a Nexus, or just run into the mineral line and try to kill as many probes as possible. However, if you move out with a lot of slow bio units without having stim, now we even see an early Widowmine on the production tab as well, but maybe Trap is hoping that Polt goes for one of those like weird moments to move out, and if that happens while Blink is about to get ready, he can pick off all those units and he can almost counterattack immediately as well, and that would be really hard to deal with, as it is always hard to deal with Blink Stark all-ins, but especially if you end up losing 10-12 bio units early on.
This is a weird opening that we see out of Polt. His first 100 gas didn't go for stim. He got a Widowmine, a really fast Widowmine. Now we see a Hellion in production. Stim's a little late. Mine's early. What is the play here for Polt? This is a very, very odd mixture. Why is a Hellion getting made, do you think?
I think that's just a scouting Hellion. I really don't have any other explanation for it. Well, he's making one more. They're pretty good against a lot of things, I guess, in a way that they do some damage against light armored units. However, the Reaper's count is magnificent, and now I really wonder what Polt's play is going to be. He cancels the Hellion, so this is not what he wanted to make them for. He doesn't have a single bunk yet. Blink is ready already. There is a pylon going up as well. Stim, he has very quick access to Stim, so that is good news for Polt. But the Medivacs will be extremely late. He does have one Marauder. This is a really unusual game. We don't really see these openings face off against each other very often. But I do really like Trap's position, Sean.
Trap is just carefully blinking backwards. One of them will fall. Almost got a bunker there, finally.
Okay. That's really good news for Polt, that he at least has one bunker to fall back on. I still think he's going to lose quite a few units. Trap will definitely macro behind this. As you can see, the robotics facility being wiped in. He's building a lot of probes. There's no need trying to run into a bunker all the time. Kind of misclicks over here.
He tries to go deep to kill that Widow Mine.
Do you think he's going to try to blink into the main base?
I hope we get the chance to see it. Uh-oh. That's going to deal a lot of damage. And absorbing it.
Well, he's taking one for the team.
Yeah, right. The mothership core's like, don't worry. I only need 30 health. It's not a big deal. Meanwhile, attack at the front.
He's going to pick up a couple of SCVs. Of course, Trap doing this very well. I don't think he's going to be able to break Polt, but he is definitely putting himself in a good position. He's 6 workers ahead. He's getting an additional base. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him fire up Charge as well, but I would also love to see him get his first Forge, because in a straight-up engagement, Polt's army is going to be so much stronger than the army of Trap. That's not even going to be funny. And we see a Robo Bay, but it also means that it's going to be very hard for him to split up his army across these 3 bases. Like you pointed out in the start of the game, this is not Frost. It's a lot harder to defend everything. And in a straight-up engagement, other than a Colossus in like roughly 60 seconds, he will almost have like no DPS at all. Stalkers, great in sniping Medivacs, not very great in fighting Stim Marauders.
This is a very odd game for both players. Trap is opening with Blink, great. Normally the way it goes is you get some Stalkers, you poke, and then you come home. But Trap is like, well, okay, I can actually deal damage. Continues to warp in, takes this expansion. There's a lot that's been delayed for Trap, but the big thing he's gained is this expansion and the safety. But Polt, on the other hand, normally has a lot more stability at this point. There's no third command center anywhere. Polt actually desperately needs to do big damage to stay alive in this match.
Yeah, it's sort of a false sense of security though, because with just one Colossus and only Blink Stalkers, I'm not sure how safe you really are. You might feel safe, but how are you going to deal with Stimmed Bio? There is a drop in the left top side of the map already as well, as the Warp Prism isn't even that far off of this. But now soon this is going to be sort of Polt's window of opportunity. He's going to drop some units in the main. If only he had more Medivacs to work with, this would be twice as scary. But this is still going to be hard for Trap to defend properly everywhere. Stim is ready. Polt's going to stim in. He might be able to pick off a couple of these probes.
Well, he's going to begin trying to target, and immediately the blink forward at the front to eliminate the Medivac. Polt stims. He's going to have to pull away. A very wise move. But in the meantime, Zealots in the main, Zealots at the third. I mean, Trap is everywhere.
Yeah, this didn't go as good for Polt as it could have gone. He didn't go in. He didn't kill the workers.
Oh, the Medivac gets picked off. I mean, Trap is on point.
Yeah, even has another weapon there as well. This is looking quite bad for Polt. I really think he was able to do some work there, but in the end it backfired. Blink Stalker's doing a really good job and just shutting everything down. And especially that Zealot, like you mentioned, stopping that third command center from going up for a very long time is going to delay Polt's economy from taking off even further. That was unfortunate. If Polt would have waited with that like second squad that he wanted to run into the natural, let's say 10 seconds, he could have been looking at a completely different game. Trap would send his units towards his third expand. He would try to defend against those Marines, and then the other hit squad from Polt could have done damage. However, the timing was unfortunate. Both armies met each other, and Trap is like, oh, it's only 8 Marines on the left side. I will focus on dealing with this army instead.
Only now does the combat shield upgrade finish. Much later than we'd normally think. Polt taking out this pylon.
Oh my god.
Trap. Murdering everything at the right, dropping at the left. Polt is just getting pulled every which way.
This is starting to look very bad. The Warp Prism does fall eventually, but there's still quite a few Zealots in the main. The Marines will be able to clean it up. There are so many Stalkers. Sick blink there. The Marauder count is very high though, but there are force fields available for Trap.
Only 2 Colossus. Polt just trying to accept damage to make sure his orbital command can get away, and I don't even know if that's going to be a possibility. It's in half health.
Colossus is a little bit exposed now, but still pushing out so much damage. Polt is losing so many of his units. A forward blink by Trap as well, and wow, it looks like Trap is going to be able to take this first best of 3 pretty convincingly.
Trap played a close game in game 1 and made game 2 look easy. Trap marching forward, greeting the SCVs gladly with the Thermal Lance upgrade. There is a concave advantage for Protoss at this front. Everything in Trap's favor. Worker count doesn't matter. GG. The series has been reset. We are going on to a second best of 3.
Wow, what a convincing victory for Trap on Overgrowth. Definitely a very silly early game with 2 builds that were definitely not designed to deal with each other, as you almost never see these 2 openings clash with each other. But it was safe to say that that was much better for Trap. Polt, whatever he wanted to do with his opening, was definitely not able to do it. The Blink Stalkers did some good work, put himself in a good economic position. And then Polt had a small window of opportunity to maybe even things up a little bit, but it backfired. He lost 2 medevacs full of units. Trap had units in the right place, and then Trap is like, cool, I got Colossus, Blink Stalkers, I can actually counterattack now.
I mean, great decision making, great judgment from Trap. And I want to emphasize that this is the first easy match the Trap has had all day. 2-1 Keen, 2-1 Hyun, 2-1 Stardust, 2-1 Scarlet, 2-1 Violet.
Wow.
And in the finals, Trap gets the 2-0 in the first best of 3.
That's such a ridiculous run, defeating all these players in a row. That is very impressive, and he was on the verge of elimination multiple times. Game 3 against Keen, incredibly close. Game 3 against Scarlet, I would say legendary. And Game 2 against Violet, that was also looking pretty dark on Altazim when those Broodlords showed up, when those Swarmers showed up. But he stayed cool, kept his head calm, and now he's in the final and he wins the first best of 3, and he's looking like a man on fire.
Thrilled to see what unfolds, because now the tournament is simple. When we come back, it'll be one best of 3 to decide who will be crowned the MLG Anaheim 2014 champion. Don't go away.